Bring it on.
What's up, everybody? This is your boy Jeezy Jenkins. Welcome back to another episode of Worth the Conversation. Today's guest is Sherrod, and the reason why I wanted to talk to Egypt and have a conversation with her because I feel like as a woman, she's very successful and she balances a lot. She's out here making major moves, whether it's real estate, whether it's her books, whether it's just her family that she puts on the forefront, and she balances all that with grace. And I just want to sit down and dig into it with her because I feel like that is very fascinating. And I love to see women that go out here and they're forced to be reckoned with. And she's definitely that. So we're going to get into it with the homegirl Egypt. And we're going to talk some money. We're going to talk some family. We're going to talk some morals and everything else. Y'all stay locked right here. Worth the conversation. Let's get it. Egypt, how you feeling?
Jeezy, man, listen, after the year we just came out of, I have no complaints.
There you go. I love it.
Blessed and highly favored, living in gratitude.
I love
period.
it. I love it.
How you doing?
I'm good. Staying out of the way, staying out of trouble. I think.
You look happy.
I do. Thank you so much.
You got a whole light about you.
Yeah, that was my makeup artist.
You got all suited and booted too.
I got to do it. I know you was going to be here. I'm excited to have this conversation with you because I've been watching, you know, just on your social media, how you've been living during the pandemic and everything's going on with your family. By the way, you seem happy as well. Very happy.
Thank you.
You know,
I appreciate it.
With the fam.
Yeah.
And I just really want to talk, you know, it's just fascinating to see just someone balance so many things, you know, and even like with the pandemic going on and, you know, being a mother and a wife and, you know, living life and having to, you know, think outside of the box to keep things going. And I just think, I think it's fascinating. You know?
Let me just say this, it's not easy.
Of course, absolutely.
It might look easy on social media, but I think anybody, mothers or fathers, anybody who has had to give 24/7 of their time through this pandemic to their children has a whole new appreciation for teachers. Listen, my daughter went back to school 3 months ago. My 9-year-old Kendall went back to school 3 months ago. I sent her back with gifts for everybody. You get a gift. You get a gift. You get a gift.
Just to get that burden off you. No, I feel you because even with my daughter, and it's crazy too because I'm wondering how that's going to affect her later on when she had to do the virtual classes and
how old is she?
She's 7.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I would catch her. I would come downstairs, and she would, you know, be doing something else besides the virtual classes, or her attention span was short, and it was just kind of crazy to me because I'm like, yo, I've never been through a pandemic. I've never been in a situation where, you know, you had to quarantine, somebody tell you to stay in the house, and you still got to go on with life. So for me, I'm like, how did you buckle down with your family and just figure out how to?
You always get what you ask for, because I remember having a conversation with God saying, you know, I'm working so much, I want to have more quality time to spend with my kids. He was like, ha, now you got it. Now you got it. You got all day to spend with your kids.
And you can't go nowhere.
So in all of this, though, it's a curse and a blessing. A curse for obvious reasons, right? Everybody's losing someone or has been affected, and we've been put in a state of just fear. Our whole lives have been turned upside down. Like when I take my mask off at the end of the day, it's like taking your bra off at the end of the day.
Real.
Woo!
It's real.
You know?
It's real.
But at the same time, I've gotten to know my family a lot better. Like you think you know your children. You think you know your significant other. And then you try spending 24 hours, 7 days a week with them and realize, wow, I never knew that mattered to you that much. I never knew you really thought or felt like that. So I have looked at and learned to look at this time and what has come of it as a blessing. I was
looking at you actually, you and your husband, which we'll get into that in a minute. You guys turned your attic into a playroom for your daughter. Tell me about that.
Well, yeah. So here's what's wild. We had just moved to a new house 2 months before the pandemic hit. And we had this whole plan for renovating the house laid out. That was all supposed to happen like immediately, but it couldn't because you couldn't even let anybody in your house. Luckily, my husband is a general contractor, so
that works.
It works. It always works. He's got a long honey-do list all the time, never ending. But we decided, you know what? for Christmas and in time for the kids' birthday, while we're home anyway, sort of during the holiday time, let's finish this space and just like pimp it out. So the kids have, really, y'all got to see this. The kids have the most amazing playroom. And it was fun too because it gave he and I quality time.
Right.
But what was wild is from that pandemic, just doing things that were natural to us, being our authentic selves, we actually got a show out of it.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's what's
so
up.
we have a new show coming. We start filming next week.
So the show is about family?
It is a show that highlights me as a real estate broker and a designer, and him as a contractor, and we are helping families get more value out of their homes. And I can't give much more than that, right? Because it's just started and
so now I'm drawing a parallel. So he's a contractor and you're a real estate agent.
Mm-hmm. Broker,
excuse me. Broker, that is. So it's look, explain this to me because I want to know this as how do you work hand in hand with your significant other and build an empire such as you have? Like, how do you, like, what's that like, waking up, taking care of the kids, planning and preparing, troubleshooting, and still getting, the couple time in? Like,
I don't know how we do it.
Right.
Honestly, I still, you just made it like, wow, how do we do that?
No, I want to know.
Here's the truth. And I guess we'll talk about it later, but I'm one of those people that are kind of old school.
Okay.
Actually, I'm very old school. To be so young.
Yeah, that helps.
Wink, wink. So I write everything down. I have calendars. I have a list every day of things I have to do, and I kind of check it off. Even though everybody's kind of digital, I need to feel. Right. I need to touch, feel, see, from that Franklin Covey generation. And so it helps me stay organized, just kind of staying ahead of my week, staying ahead of my month. And my husband, we're a team. There is no I in team. And I think that's why we've worked for 17 years.
Congratulations. That's a real number.
17 years.
That's a real number.
It's a long time.
Yeah.
It's a roller coaster.
Yeah.
But it's a blessing. It's a blessing. I wouldn't have it any other way. I wouldn't choose anybody else to do this life with.
That's what's
up. It works because he is not ego driven. And I had to learn not to be ego-driven.
How's that work?
Well, I think from bumping your head against a brick wall a lot, ego is edging God out, erasing God out of the equation. And our marriage got better, and I grew as a person when I took a lesson from my husband, who is a very giving, very kind soul,
right.
That I just gotta, I gotta match him. I gotta be great. I gotta level up. I might be here career-wise and, whatever, but he was here spiritually.
Right, they're rich at heart.
Yeah, and that made him, the head of our house. Wow. Because he always had a way to balance things out. When I come home with that rah-rah, he was like, here. So
chill, ma.
Yeah.
You gotta talk that Philly way.
What you know about Philly. So it works because whereas I am the go person, he is the peace and balance person.
Right. No, you gotta. I mean, I try my best to be that. Is just my upbringing. Like my grandmother raised me to be. Like I'm the calmest person in the room. It could be, like we was talking about earlier, earthquake, and I'm gonna be like, I'm gonna think through it.
I don't believe that, Jeezy. I don't believe you from the East Coast. We're in the middle of an earthquake on the West Coast, and you were cool. Yeah. How does that work?
Because for me, like I'm always like I've always been the troubleshooter. Every time something's wrong, I just want to figure out. It might be the Libra in me, because we like balance. So for me, it's just like. When it was an earthquake, of course, I woke up, I'm like, yo, what the hell? But immediately I started thinking about, I'm not prepared for this. You know what I'm saying? So I need
right. What do you do? Where'd you go?
I need the kit, I need I need the flashlight, because I want to be prepared, So my first state of mind is when things go wrong is how do I better prepare? And that's how I really try to live my life. It's like when I run into obstacles, and we all are gonna run into obstacles, especially being where we from, it's always gonna be something. And what I pride myself on is learning how to prepare for them next time. So if in case I need it, I know what to do. But also, like when I'm sitting down talking to people, whether it's somebody older or younger, if they ask me now, I got experience because it's been tested. You know what I mean? Like it's been tried. So for me,
did
it's
you
just
get
like,
a "I survived the earthquake" T-shirt afterwards?
I did not, but when I called my homies, it was like, you need to move back to Atlanta.
I'm sure
You need to come on back home, man.
Some things we prepare for. Some things I don't know about that. You never get used to.
I got to go to a break, but stay tapped in with me because Egypt and I will talk about building generational wealth right here when we come back. Worth the Conversation. Welcome back to Worth the Conversation. I'm talking motherhood, marriage, and money right here with Egypt Sherrod. So when you talk about leaving legacy over debt, I love that.
Yeah.
That's the T-shirt we need, by the way.
Leave legacy, not debt.
Leave legacy,
That's
not
my
debt.
hashtag on social media.
That needs to be a book, by the way. When does that
Leave
come
legacy.
out?
You know what? From your lips to God's ears. Maybe I will. That'll be my third book.
That'll be amazing.
So I like to do social media when I'm with my children, right? Because inevitably something valuable always comes out of it, right? So I'll do Kendall's hair. Kendall's my 9-year-old, and I'm teaching her about wealth. So the Leave Legacy Not Debt came from my intention for my children. Listen, in our culture, it is not the norm for our parents to be able to talk to us about saving and investing and buying real estate. Why? Because
she says it's not the norm for them to talk to us about that.
It's not the norm.
Correct.
I mean, I didn't grow up, I don't know anybody who really grew up like that because the way we grew up was we're doing our best just to keep a roof over our head, food in your mouth, and robbing Peter to pay Paul. So although we'd like to put some money away, we're lucky just to be able to put it on a bill. So we didn't have that. But in every generation, you want to do better. You should want to. You should strive to do better.
Absolutely.
And I have heard stories of and seen families, and know personally, many people who have lost a parent, and instead of them leaving them something, anything, just a little bit of savings or a house, or there was debt that was passed on. Now you got to pay the bill for the funeral.
Which not good. I've paid for so many funerals, but that's when I really started to realize that, you know, we're not even prepared for that as a people.
Yeah.
You know, and when somebody passes or somebody gets killed and you have to pay for a funeral, you really look at the family and you go, wow, like we really in a place where, you know, this $5,000 or $10,000, you know,
and we can't
it's
do
the
it.
world of somebody.
We can't do it.
Right.
And really, we should all have at least 6 months of savings someplace, you know, stashed away. But to not be able to even pay for your mom's funeral or something like that should teach us a lesson that while we're out here running around in the latest, hottest sneakers or shoes, or
you know, the Birkin,
putting all of our wealth,
you got the Birkin, you got Birkin, you ain't got funeral fare in there. I don't know.
I don't own any of that.
You gonna be fresh dead as hell.
But you know what? So truth be told, I said I don't want to be that mom that has worked so hard in my life to learn about money and how to make money work for me, and then not leave it to my children. You know, not be able to teach them how to do for themselves. I didn't have my first child until I was 36, so I'm an older mom. My 20-year-old is I adopted her through marriage. You know, she's my husband, so she's mine. People used to me calling her my daughter, but she's not biologically mine. So I started late, and I realized that I might not be around that. You know, who knows what God has, you know, in the cards for us. But, you know, I'm gonna be a grandma mom, probably, you know. And when they hit those rough patches in their life where maybe they need a mom to tell them or someone to tell them how to get out, I might not be here. But at the very least, I can leave them with the knowledge and wealth to be able to take care of themselves, to get themselves out of a rough situation.
You said a key word, knowledge. I think for myself, just coming from my humble beginnings, like I grew up in a trailer that was, you know, I've said it before, that wasn't bigger than this room, with my mom and my sister. And I hustled for a couple months and paid, you know, right at $3,200 for that trailer. My mom loved that trailer until I was able to buy her a house. When I bought her a house, she called me and she went in on me one day. It's like, and I think it was like something like, it wasn't really a tax thing, but it was like one of those things where she got a bill and it was like maybe like for like $700 for something. And she went in. They're gonna take my house. I never want. And my thing was like, Mom, your house is paid for.
They can't take it.
So if anything ever happened to me any day, like this is your house. And I never forget just growing up and not understanding that, because where we from, you know, a little bit is everything, but it's just enough to survive for a short period of time. So when we start thinking about real life and the things that really go on and saving money and making sure, like, I got my daughter a restaurant. but I didn't want to be in the restaurant business, but it was an opportunity that I
You're
felt
a 7-year-old.
Yes, so I felt like,
love that.
hey, you know, this is something that I would get for her, because I know over time, by the time she's 18, 20, you know, it's going to be a good deal. Then the second thing is just making sure that she's set up in my trust. You know what I'm saying? It's making sure that she's she's set up in my real estate things, because, you know, I had a wise friend to tell me, he's like, yo, man, you can't take none of this money with you.
No.
And I really took heed of that. He's like, how much money you really need to survive? And when I started really living the way that I felt was like your husband, like rich, because I had to realize, like, the monetary, you know, gain is cool, but when you rich at heart and you make sure the people you're straight are straight, because I don't want to, you know, if I'm ever, you know, 70, 80 years old and my daughter is great, I know she's going to take care of daddy. You know what I'm saying? Because she's set up that way. And I think as a people, that's the best thing we could do, is put our kids in a better situation. It's crazy, because I went through it with my son, is when people were like, yo, you telling us to trap or die, but you told your son to go to college. I was like, nah, I trap or died so my son could go to college. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And he still, you know, got a little edge to him, but I didn't have that opportunity. I had to hustle to pay for my sister to go to college so she could be a nurse.
But see, there it is right there. You saw how hard you had to work in your life.
Right.
And if you were taken from this earth, had you not put these things in place for your children, they would be starting from scratch.
Absolutely.
And that's why every generation, we got to do better. It's called generational wealth. And it's what many other cultures are taught and what they teach their kids. That's why we got trust fund babies, right? We don't have trust fund babies. They got trust fund babies.
Yeah, I heard about that one. I didn't know what that was. And I was
what, trust fund baby?
I was talking to somebody and they was like, yeah, she's a trust fund baby. I'm like, what the hell is that?
Now you know, your kids are going to be trust fund babies.
Million, what? And what? You know what I mean? And you sitting there and somebody just left them this money. I got to go to a break, but stay tapped in with me, because Egypt and I will talk about building generational wealth right here when we come back. Welcome back to Worth the Conversation. I'm with TV personality and queen of real estate. You heard what I said, Egypt Sherrod.
So you talked about what you put in place for your 7-year-old, which I love that. We just purchased for our 9-year-old her first investment property.
Nice.
And one of my family members said to me when I said, oh yeah, I'm taking her down to Florida, you know, we're going down there. Why are you taking her to Florida? Because we're buying her first investment property. Her what? That's too much pressure for a 9-year-old. And I said, why is that too much pressure? That's not pressure
at all.
I think the mistake is thinking that children are too young to start teaching them about money. To me, from the time that they have an understanding and they can start spelling, you should be throwing in there where the teachers are throwing in spell because, you should throw in the word mortgage and have them know how to spell mortgage so they question what is a mortgage. You should be able to throw interest or interest rate in there somewhere so they know how to spell it, and it becomes ingrained in them. And so I took Kendall, it was a mama-daughter trip, took her down there, showed her what a settlement statement looked like from some of my other deals, talked to her about why things were important, and then showed her why I pick certain investment properties and why I don't pick others. And I asked her, and I let her pick the final one. I asked her, which one would you pick? She wanted a 6-bedroom, 5-bath. And I said, well, why would you pick that one? She said, because it's a 6-bedroom, 5-bath.
Wow.
And I said, but the one right here is a 5-bedroom, 5-bath. It costs $100,000 less. But since we're doing a short-term rental, both of them rent for $300 a night. Why spend $100,000 more on something that's still going to only get you $300 a night? And so if the numbers don't work, neither do we. My 9-year-old. So now not only will this property pay for itself, but the money from it is going into a fund that's going to roll into her second property. And so that by the time she graduates high school, she can pay for her own college education.
Wow. I love it. That's fascinating to me, and it's crazy because you can clearly tell that it starts with the leadership. It's like even with, you know, growing up the way I grew up, either my family worked at factories or they did like small jobs, cleaning houses and things like that, but it was nothing solid. You know, so we didn't have anything to pull from. So for you to already be setting her up like that at 9, and they're smart. Like my daughter was, she told me the other day, was driving. She's like, Daddy, why are you so aware?
She said that? Yes. She had the wherewithal, 7 years old, to say aware? Daddy? So you're doing a good job with her already.
Yeah, she said, why are you so aware? I loved it. I said, because I have a princess, I have to make sure that it's good and it's great. Yeah. And I just want to watch out for you. But I think that's amazing. I think that I'm going to get it again. You said legacy.
Leave legacy, not debt.
I love that.
So since we're on this, I just, and I know that there's folks watching and they're pulling from your knowledge and they're pulling from my knowledge. I would say, because a lot of people are saying, well, if I don't have any money, then I can't do estate planning. If I don't have money, I can't buy real estate. And how do I leave anything for my children if I don't have anything myself? And here's what I want to say is, number one, if you have a child, you absolutely need to put in place a will and a trust.
Absolutely.
And you pay $10 to $40 a month for, a term life insurance policy that is payable to the trust. So upon your life, you may not have 2 nickels to put together. Upon your death, you can leave them $1 million through life insurance. Wow. So now you may not have been a millionaire, but your child, if you leave, is a millionaire. And not only can they bury you, but they can take care of themselves when you're gone. So you absolutely need to do estate planning.
Ooh, he just dropped them gems. Ooh. She got
but you
real.
knew enough. You knew enough to set that up. You have
but I had to get educated on it. You know what I'm saying? I had my, and again, coming from where I came from, like, we didn't have accountants. Everything was in Louis Vuitton duffel bags. So the minute I sat down with an accountant, he was like, yo, you don't have a trust. And
You're telling the truth now.
I'm like, trust? Yeah. And he explained to me what it was. And I said, I absolutely want that. One. You know what I'm saying? Because I want to make sure that, my kids are good, my family's straight, and I leave, I leave behind something so they're good. But tell me the difference between investing and saving. Because where I come from, boy, you better not spend that money. You're gonna need it, or don't buy that because it costs too much, or hold on to all your money and whatever you got in the bank, that's just what you got. So tell me the difference between that, because I see you're very good with that.
Well, thank you for saying that. I wasn't always good. Listen, when I went to college, nobody taught me about credit. So they're set up at college, all these tables, and they're offering you, as far as I saw, free money for it. You got a keychain with it, right? When you open the credit card, and that's the trap, because you graduate with debt. That is the American trap, the American way. And so quickly, I realized how important credit was, and took everything that I was earning to pay off everything I owed to get my credit back in a good position. And then I used my credit to create wealth. I didn't necessarily have a lot of money, but back then, you remember, you could buy property as long as you had good credit with zero down and no closing costs, and you got a check at the table. That's not the case now, but that was the case then. So I used that to create wealth and start flipping properties, and then I saved enough money until I started understanding the importance of investing. And so here's the difference. Many people will make money, and they'll, depend upon who you are and what generation you're from, you might stick it under your mattress or in a sock or bury it in the backyard, or you put it in the bank. Or there it is. Or the Louis Vuitton duffel bag.
There you go.
But your money then is not doing what it's supposed to do.
Work for you.
It's supposed to work for you at all times, 24 hours a day. And so when you just hold on to it, all it is paper. That's it, dollar bill. But when you can invest it in something like, a Vanguard 2020, ask me what that is later, because I don't want to get too busy.
You just hit them with something.
Right, but you can invest it in something, basically, you understand this, that is going to give you 9%, 10% back annually on your investment. Then now your money's working for you, right? Or you put it into real estate to where now you paid into it. Now, not only is that investment paying itself off, but it's giving you a check every month. That is how your money works for you.
I'm going to take another break, but right here with my homegirl, Sherrod. You feel me on this one. Major moves she's making. We're going to get all into them when we come back right here. Worth the Conversation. Welcome back to Worth the Conversation. Time to tap back in with Sherrod. So for me, like real estate, and I told you I was going to tell you about this. So I am a visionary. So when I was in the streets and trying to figure out, like, what I was going to do with my life, and I did invest in some artists in a studio, and then that didn't work out. They quite naturally got, into a lot of trouble. And one of my partners suggested I should do it myself. And I was like, you know what? I ain't never failed at nothing, so I'm going to try it. But my goal wasn't just to be that. I always looked at business and just this image I had of myself coming from, the poverty, to being able to sit here and have a suit on. Like, that was an accomplishment. That's something I really wanted. The real estate game came to me in the process of that. because I was talking to some people, and I was buying these houses, when I was getting my music money or whatever, and they was just like, yo, why you not buying real estate? And I'm just like, for what? You know what I mean? It's like you buy a house, you hold on to it, and then what? And I started like going out drinking wine with one of my guys and just hanging out with him and getting in his circle. And I'm like, yo, this is a thing.
A real thing.
And it was exciting because it was like, yo, I bought this and then I made this and I didn't have to do much to it. I just made, and I'm just sitting there like, yo, I could do this in my sleep. And that's what gave me that passion to even step foot into real estate and be pretty good at it. So I bought a lot of things and made a lot of moves, but based off of the circle that I was in. I want to ask you, like, who inspired you to even take that route? Because I know you did music. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Well, hold on. Can we just go there? Because the first time that I met you, Jeezy, I didn't even think you remembered.
Right.
We were both in another life, essentially.
Correct.
Right? I was a radio personality, and you were Jeezy.
Right.
which you still are, right? But look at us all grown up. Right. Yes, look at this, all grown up. But it's just a little surreal to me because I feel like that was probably almost 20 years ago that I first met you.
Yes.
And I just would have. I would have never known that wasn't the career path that you wanted for your life because it seemed so authentic, right, to who you were.
It was a step. Like I look at life as like steps. It's like, I didn't necessarily want to be in the streets, but that was what I had. But I was like, how do I make this work for me? Then I took another step. Then you take another step, and you bring all that with you, so you connect the dots. So when you get to where you are, you have all, and that's the advantage I have in a lot of situations. Like, when it comes to business and things like that, is I have street savvy, like I'm street smart. You know what I'm saying? Quite naturally, but I have read and still do read a lot of books, but I'm really street smart. Like I'm very self-aware.
But you gotta be both, right?
That's what I'm saying. So that's my edge. You know what I mean? That's how I'm able to get it. But I look at life in steps, and that's how I was able to step to where we are now. So
growth is life.
Correct.
Really, that's
Absolutely.
the truth. And
that's
so you asked me who influenced me. Who. This might not sound good, but I'm just going to say it because it's my truth. It was kind of the opposite for me. I was seeing a lot of what I didn't want. I was seeing a lot of the results of lives lived that I didn't want for my life. And so perfect example is you knew me, right, from radio. That wasn't what I wanted to do with my life, by the way. I wanted to be an entertainment attorney. And I wound up, to pay my way through school, I wound up being an intern at a radio station, and the rest kind of became history. But I would observe around me some of my peers who'd been in the business a very long time, and for whatever reason, they were struggling. How can you be in radio, right? This business that everybody is like, it's so glamorous, you're meeting the celebrities, you're making all this money, you're driving the fast cars, and you leave the business, you retire, or you're retired, broke. And I would see it time and time again and say, this is just not the way. And it took one time for me to lose my job. The station flipped formats and I was on the unemployment line. This is a true story. On the unemployment line, and while I was on the unemployment line, a cab drove by with my picture on the top.
Oh.
It was still, you know how you had the little billboard cab tops? My picture was on the cab top, and I was standing in the unemployment line, and I just started crying.
Wow.
Man, it was like it was just like a moment. It was a life-changing moment.
Real.
And by the time I got to the front of that very long unemployment line, I made some decisions about my life, which was I would never allow myself to be put in a position where someone else can determine my destiny, where I could work so hard and have all these plans for my life and have the rug ripped from under me. From then on out, it would be all about ownership, and I had to figure out a side hustle. This is what it was. I got to figure out a side hustle that will allow me to sustain my life, but still be able to pursue my passion, which at that time was still, it had become radio, and it was getting into television. But I need something real, because entertainment ain't real. Listen, so it became real estate. I, started flipping houses. I eventually got my license. I went from being an agent to a broker. Then I started running a super team, and then I was making more money off of 2 deals than I made in radio, period.
Wow.
In radio, period.
Wow, but that story is, and I think a lot of people don't really understand, like, it all comes down to one decision.
Yeah.
That one moment you say, you know what?
Defining.
That it's that one, and for me it was like, you're right, I've seen a lot of people take paths that put them places I would never want to be in life, and I just made that decision. I was like, you know, I'm not going back there. I got to figure this out. And every day I get up, I'm still on that mission. It's like, you know, you have that fire in you. It's like my uncle used to say, you got that dog in you, nephew. Like
light.
you just
Light.
want it, you know. So tell me about I've had my health struggles. I had things that go on with me, and they definitely made me want to be healthier. And I know it was crazy because I was like, yo, I'm working out, I'm doing everybody like.
I was watching on social media on the, what was it, treadmill?
Yeah, right.
I was like, get 20 steps in for me, please.
And it was crazy because it's like, yo, Jeezy, you working out, but I'm like, yo, this like once you get to the paper, you want to be healthy to spend the paper, because you can find somebody worth $500 million and be sick some type of way, cancer, whatever. They'll give you all that just to be healed. And it's like, if you don't take care of yourself, you know, you can be subject to other things. And for me, it was a lot of health things that I was going through, and I was like, yo, I got to just do better for myself. But I understand that you was struggling with some things too.
You know, it all kind of came to a head last year. 2020 for me was a defining year in more than one way, right? We talked about how we got to spend more time with our children. It was a blessing and a curse. I also talked about how I had new businesses and ventures that came from it, right? I was able to be in a creative space, but my body also started telling me the truth.
Okay.
And, you know, you'd ask very early on, how are you balancing it all, right? And sometimes we think we're balancing it all. We think we can do it all. And then our bodies are suffering. Something inevitably gives, right? And I realized that I was giving everything to everybody else and accomplishing all these goals, but spent very little time focusing on what this person needed, mind, body, and soul. And so I was diagnosed with lupus, which, you know, you ain't gonna have me up here crying, but it was a very emotional, just to think that I could be taken from my children, that everything that I had built for my life, I'm not talking about financially, just my joy, I could be snatched from it. It made me go into action. And I do think that there's two types of people in this world, those who lay down and die, and those who get up and fly. And I decided that I was going to become my own health advocate. I had gone to all these doctors, and all they did, Jeezy, was prescribe medication. They would see me for 10 minutes and give me some medication that was going to change my life, and God only knew what was in the medicine. And so I went to an alternative health doctor, which, you know, we have Western medicine, which is treat the symptom. And then there's Eastern medicine, which is more about find the cause of the illness. And a lot of that, some of it's spiritual, you know, some of it's emotional. It's not just, you know, the physical. So I had to get to the root of it, and I wanted to understand how in other countries they handle medicine, how they treat things. And I went to an alternative doctor who, by the way, I'm not gonna say she healed me of lupus. I never had lupus.
Are you serious?
Never had it.
So they're giving you medicine for lupus and you did not
They
have
were
it.
giving me medicine that was, again, life-changing, and just the medicine itself causes your body to go through all kind of craziness. And so what it turned out, this is gonna blow your mind, it all tied back to 42 food allergies that I'd had. And the allergies came from a leaky gut, which, by the way, when I had gone to it, I'm saying this because there's so many people suffering from this. I'd gone to a gastroenterologist and said, hey, it was suggested to me that maybe I have a leaky gut and food allergies. And they were like, kaposh, there's no such thing. Leaky gut, that's like a legend. That's been disproven. Okay, well, all you're doing is medicating things and it's not working. Let me just try it this way. And it turned out it was. So what happens is when you have leaky gut, it comes from insecticides and pesticides, the foods that we eat, even the stuff we think that's healthy, fruits and vegetables, has something on it. And it burns holes, little holes into your gut. And now you got these little holes that when you eat food, even healthy food, like I became allergic to cucumbers and spinach.
You became?
I became allergic to it because everything I was eating was going through my gut into my bloodstream, and now your body says, oh, this is something that we're not used to, we're allergic to it, let's dispel it. And so it starts to fight off even things that are healthy for you. And so what was happening is I was getting hives on my body, rashes, I was having heart palpitations, and it turns out it wasn't lupus. I was allergic to what I was eating, even when I thought I was eating healthy. And what I had to do was to heal myself from the inside out first.
Hallelujah.
So I say all that to say, almost a year and a half later, I'm on zero medicine. I'd suffered from thyroid disease for much of my life, and I've got all my tests. My thyroid's fully regulated off of medicine. Wow. And I feel victorious for being my own health advocate. So yeah, I'm grateful. I sit here today with a better person for it. I wouldn't take the journey, health journey, right, or otherwise back. And I'm sure you wouldn't take, you know, some of the falls that you've had back, because right, that's what builds character. That's what makes you look so good in the suit over there.
I've never seen a skilled sailor from a calm sea. I have to take a quick break, but I'll be right back with Egypt Sherrod when we come back. Worth the Conversation. Welcome back to Worth the Conversation. Time to tap back in with Egypt Sherrod. So real estate mogul, broker, excuse me. We got not agent, you know what I mean? Boss.
There's a difference, but thank you.
I love it, I love it. I know it's gonna sound crazy, but a lot of times even some of my friends, people I know, they ask me like, you know, what's the true meaning of success? Mm-hmm. And what I've learned over the years is being happy, it's being peaceful, it's yeah, having good energy around yes, you. So as I look at this planner that you've put together, Ignite Joy.
Ignite Joy. Mm-hmm.
Tell me about this.
Well, let me just say, most people, you know, think about me like you think about me. They think Egypt, they think real estate, right? But there's just so much more to my journey, as you can see from this conversation. And although many people, the question is, Egypt, teach me how to create multiple streams of wealth. What I have lately been throwing back to them from my own journey is, ask me how to create multiple streams of joy. Joy, I love that. Because really, what good is the ladder without the first, right? Why have the wealth if you don't know how to enjoy it? And like you said, if you're not going to have the health and the wherewithal to be able to enjoy it. And I remember years ago, man, you know how somebody says something and sticks to your ribs? I was early in my radio career, and Russell Simmons said to me, you show me 10 multimillionaires and I'll show you at least 9 people with antidepressants in their medicine cabinet. Because the reality is, money cannot fill your soul. You know, it cannot. It can listen. It could put you in a nice house. It could put you in a nice suit. But you're still the same person in the nice house, in the nice suit. Same problems. Same mindset. More problems.
Yeah, absolutely.
More money,
more things
problems.
come with that. That's something I had to realize too. Is just like, you know, I had a good friend tell me, like, add value to people, you know, and you know, know your worth, and just do right, and it'll come. It will. But in the process, just make sure that you're happy, you're at peace, and you have joy. So when I look at this, I'm like, wow, that's really
Jeezy,
dope that you would take the time.
This is more about the journey, right? So in the pandemic, we also talked about like this creation phase. Like, you created this show. You manifested this show for yourself during the pandemic. For me, I was working on my second book, and it started out being called Ignite Wealth. Where I was talking about more than just real estate, but about the basic principles that we need to create wealth and pass wealth on, right? Remember, we just talked about leave legacy, not debt. Right. But then I quickly changed and realized, God, you know, this is what God wants me to do, but that's not what He wants me to do right now. Look at the pandemic. Look at the spirit that everybody's in right now. When we come out of this, we're going to be in post-traumatic stress.
Yes,
absolutely. You know, so people need something, I think, to fill their cup and remind them of who they are and whose they are. And I decided to use that opportunity to write, instead, Ignite Joy first, to put the joy, you know, before the wealth. And then I said, no, I want to make it a digital program. And so it is. It's ignitewithegypt.com/joy, you know, / and then as people have been taking the program, I discovered that, you know what, there's something bigger for people who can't take the program or don't like to learn online. Let me just give them something daily that they can use to remind them that, yes, while we have our list of things to do to pay the bills and take care of everybody else, let's look over on this side at our alignment purpose and think about the things that we need to make ourselves feel good and fill our cup on a daily basis. And so every day starts with what we're grateful for. You got to write what you're grateful for. And then you write all the things that you're going to do to make sure that you stay in alignment with yourself. And I have a purposed alignment map in there. And at the end, it's what are we going to release? Because we got to leave the old in yesterday. We cannot carry that with us. That's too much baggage, and none of us are trying to be bag ladies. So that is men. Or men, that's right. And then you also still have your regular things to do and your monthly planning and all, but this is a life changer for many people. So I'm happy to have been able to create this and pour this out during the pandemic.
I love it. Ignite joy. I mean, you're just amazing. Like it's crazy. Just all the things that you've done, you know, and just coming from radio and you know, being able to incorporate your family and just your lifestyle and even some of your trial tribulations. Like, what do you think is your most defining? Like, what if you had to leave here today and you couldn't take no books, you couldn't take nothing, what would you want everybody? Like, how would you want everybody to remember?
Do you mean career or personally?
Both. I want
Which
career,
one do you want first?
Career first, and I'm gonna
defining moment.
Yeah.
Sort of. Okay, this is when I decided to bet on myself. And you know, I think a lot of people who start a business for themselves always want to still hold on to a safety net, which is why you see a lot of people hold on to a job while starting a business, which is not a bad idea. But there does come a point where you got to let go. And for me, that transition took maybe about 4 years. Like I told you, I'd become a real estate broker. And then I moved to Atlanta. I was the real estate broker, set up my business, the Egypt Sherrod Real Estate Group. But I was still on the radio here in Atlanta, which is where we are, you know, every day. But I wasn't there. I wasn't showing up as my best. It was just for a safety net. But here was my defining moment. You ready for this? I don't put money into cars and material things. Instead, again, I put them into properties, things that are going to make me money. So I wasn't driving a luxury car. I wasn't walking around with a Balenciaga bag. Because to me, that's silly places to put my money. That's just how I feel personally. I like to look nice, but I don't like to spend a lot of money doing it.
Smart.
So my boss pulled me aside and said, here in Atlanta, you're going to have to step it up. Well, what do you mean? You don't look the part. You got to look the part. You know, everybody drives luxury cars. We got a radio personality with a Lamborghini, and we got one with Porsche. We got one that got like 8 cars and all that. And you driving around in your little Mercedes-Benz ML, what was it, 550, 350 or something I had, right? At the time, I'm like, yeah, it's paid off. And he's like, you got to do better. You got to step it up. We need to see you walking around here in some Christian Louboutins.
You need to pay for it then.
But no, but the weight of that. Now that was just so loaded for me. I want you to know it took me a week to dissect that. Because that's the perfect example of how a lot of us, we're acting rich, but we're really broke. You know, instead I'd rather be rich and look broke. I would much rather that. I don't want to live in something I'm renting and driving a $200,000 car. I would much rather drive a paid off $60,000 car. It's just getting me from one place to another and have 26 properties that are all giving me money, and I'm loading up for my next generation. That's what I value. So for me, it was a defining moment when I realized I work for people who don't have their priorities in the right place, and I'm not going to grow here. God, I hear you. It's time for me to bet on black. It's time for me to bet on myself. And after that, I jumped and I flew. Well, actually, I was pushed out. Pushed out the nest, but it's okay. I'm grateful. I'm grateful. Pushed out the nest, and I fell and I flew.
Real talk, I love it.
That was a defining moment. What about for you, career-wise?
Oh, career-wise for me was just starting to begin to do what I did musically, coming from where I was, just being in the neighborhood and people telling me like, you don't never make it out of that. It'll never happen. Like
they were telling you, sealing your
door. Even older people, like even people I had respect for. I had this one uncle that I really loved and looked up to, and I never forget. I was selling my CDs, and I wanted $10 for the CD, and you know I pressed them up. You know I had about 50 CDs, and I was like, "Yo, Unc," you know I seen him over by the laundromat. I was like, "Yo, Unc, buy one of my CDs." He's like, "I ain't buying that." He said, "I buy some of that weed you got though." You know what I'm saying? I'm 16 years old, and I'm like, "Yo, you would rather do that than to support my cause." And I never forget. I went down to my little cousin's graduation, and I pulled up. I'm in my big Bentley Moussain sitting in the back with my driver. You know, I pulled up in the hood, and everybody running to the car because it's like a neighborhood thing, and everybody outside. They're like, "Yo, get back home, baby!" And I get out the car. My driver opened up the door. Spiffy. I get out. And I see him. I said, "What's up?"
Same person.
Yeah, I said, "What's up, bro? How you living, baby?" Couldn't look me in my eyes. You know what I'm saying? Defining me, but just seeing people that know where we came from and them knowing that we stood on the same concrete, and the only thing that made me different from them is I made a decision that I won't stay here, and I was going to get out so that I could help as many people as I possibly could. But that's the decision I made. So even when some of my people see me now, even doing this, they know where we came from. They know what we've been through, and that's defining to me, because every morning I get up, I'm gonna push the envelope. If
But
I can
do you
think
realize that? Like how many little boys who now know your story
Right.
and has someone on the block telling them you'll never make it out, or
Right.
like, but Jeezy did it. If Jeezy did it, I could do it.
And I feel like that about, a lot about music as well, because a lot of these up and coming cats, I had to kick that door in, because I'm not your stereotypical, rapper. I was somebody from the streets who was trying to make a way out, and I think when I opened that door, a lot of people saw, I know him. I've seen him around. I've seen him in clubs. I've seen him in the street. If he can do it, I can do it.
That's right.
And I've done that. So my next level for me, and I still love music and do it, but my next level for me is opening more doors for us. So that's my most defining moment.
All right, so what are we talking, personal now?
Absolutely.
A defining moment I have so many personally. I have some about love, my children obviously changed my
years.
life. Yeah, here it is. Let's talk about this defining moment as far as who I wanted to be as a person, my character.
Right.
So, blogs at some point were super popular,
Right.
and I was a radio personality and a businesswoman, and I saw that, so I created a blog, which I didn't write for, and I didn't manage it. I had interns doing it, but it was an extension of my brand, right? Which, entertainment is like the who, zoom, and who whole thing. So I had this blog, and it became a life of its own.
Really?
And it would report these stories, it had these pictures, and I wasn't into it because I didn't have time for that. It was like, oh yeah, my interns are posting. But really, it was a reflection of me, because nobody else knew that. They thought I was posting it. The site was called EgyptSaidSo.com. So they thought I was posting and writing and the whole thing. And then there were stories that had become salacious, right? Because their jobs were to create stories that were going to generate traffic. So they become salacious, and I didn't even know how this extension of my brand that I really wasn't into was actually it was a bad reflection of who I was. I had to take it down entirely, and I did a whole video where I said, you know what, I created this for fun, I created it to be an extension of my brand, but this is not who I am at my core. It's not who I want to be. I want to be better. I want to do more. Like everybody, each of us is a brand. We're a personal brand, and your brand is, what do people immediately associate you with when you're not around? What do they say about you when, behind your back? That is really how you're perceived. And that's not what I wanted. Like, I wanted to be someone known for leaving every situation that I was in better than when I came. Right. That I was someone who not drained people, but I filled people up. Right. And so that goes back to the alignment planner, because we can't walk a walk and talk a whole different talk. Right. Everything has to be in perfect alignment. And so that sometimes means sacrifices. It means saying no to opportunities that offer us a lot of money if they don't make our spirit feel good. It means saying no to certain people around us, no matter how long we've known them. And we may feel like we own them, but they weren't created to go the full journey. People come into your life for a reason, season, or a lifetime. And we got to be able to identify who they are and when they've served their purpose. And
leaves, trees, and roots.
Ooh, right?
Yeah.
And so, one of the things I always say is, like, I've been through it, and I value all of it, because in order for my branches to reach heaven, my roots had to go through hell.
That's right. I love it. I love it. Thank you so much for stopping by Worth the Conversation.
Your defining moment.
Oh, my defining moment.
Your personal. Don't ease out of that. No. Y'all see how he tried to ease out of that, right? Your personal defining moment.
My personal defining moment was putting my mother in a house. It was buying her own home through my hard work, being legit, and being able to put it in her name, in her LLC's name, and the gifted to her, knowing that I didn't hurt or take anything from anyone to get it a home.
Yeah.
And going there to visit her and just seeing how much joy she had, how much yard she had, and how much it made me feel like a great son to go through everything. I like put her through hell, but still balance it out on the end. And I never forget just sitting on the front porch and just hanging out with her and going like, wow, you know, like she really, and knowing that I did it all with my mind and my mindset. You know what I'm saying? I didn't have a product. I didn't have nothing physical. You know, it was clearly what I got up and I was passionate about every day and was succeeding so I could do better for her. And the moment I gave her those keys, it could have been all over for me. I'd have been cool with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I just, the joy in her face and actually seeing her in a home knowing where we came from was the biggest accomplishment by far, bigger than any platinum plaques, any deal I ever done. It was just like, the minute I gave her those keys, I felt like the son that she wanted, not because of just buying the home, but because doing it the right way, because that's all she ever wanted me to do. Like, whatever you do, do what you got to do, but just make it right in the end. And that's my most defining
That's
moment.
Powerful.
Yeah.
That's a big one. That's joy.
Joy. There you go. Ignite joy.
Yep.
Thank you so much, Egypt, for stopping by the show.
Hey, Jeezy.
Coming to hang out with me,
All
pulling
right.
up. She a real one. She pulled up. A lot of everybody else want to get on FaceTime and Zoom calls.
But wait, we did take our tests.
Right.
You know, everybody's COVID free. Yeah.
Everybody's COVID free.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, and I'm excited about everything you got going, and we'll stay paying attention.
Yeah.
And you know, I'm definitely gonna take me one of those to the crib and check it out.
Give it to everybody you value.
Got it.
I'm
got
gonna leave
it.
them here for y'all.
And thank you so much.
Hey,
next time.
Love and light.
I like to end my episodes with a little message, and today's message is always bet on yourself, always believe in you, and no matter how tough it get, so always be prepared to jump and fly. Be prepared to jump and fly. That's what it is right here. Worth the conversation.